Hey everyone, so today we're going to be taking a break from doing my Beginner 100 series on Tiki ingredients, which by the way, if you haven't seen those videos yet, I've shot one on the 5 rums that you need to start your Tiki bar, as well as the 7 modifiers, other spirits and liqueurs, and stuff like that, that you also need once you pick up your rums. If you haven't watched those videos yet, I'll leave a card up here to the playlist and a description link in the description below. Anyway, today we're going to be taking kind of a step back from that to do another cocktail. Now, while I've been doing cocktails in those videos, I haven't really been talking about them. We've been talking about the other subjects that we've been covering in those videos. So today I wanted to do a little bit of a deeper dive into a modern classic Tiki cocktail that I happen to love. This is something that I would consider an intermediate Tiki level, because while it includes very basic common ingredients and it's super simple, only 4, it does include something that doesn't show up on every Tiki bar, and that is green chartreuse. Today, we're gonna be making a Chartreuse Swizzle. I'm Andy, this is Easy Tiki Drinks. Let's do this. Alright, so as I mentioned, today we're gonna be taking a look at the Chartreuse Swizzle, which is considered a modern classic cocktail. Now, those two words are kind of contradicting. Modern, classic, how can you have something that's classic but also modern? And basically, modern classic cocktails are cocktails that have come out within the last 20 years or so that are classics. And I don't mean classics in the sense of like old school classics, like, you know, the last word or the old fashioned, but I'm talking about classic cocktails or cocktails that seem to appeal to everybody and everyone seems to love and rave about and hunt and seek after. Things that kind of have blown up, such as the Paper Plane, or, as we're talking about today, the Chartreuse Swizzle. So the Chartreuse Swizzle was created in about 2002 by Marco Dionysus. Now, Marco was a green chartreuse evangelist. Every single year, green chartreuse would hold a bartending competition that the goal was to use green chartreuse as a main ingredient in your cocktails and show them to the world. Marco was doing so well in the previous 4 years of this competition. He placed first in one of those years and second and third in the other 3. He decided, you know what, for the 5th year, maybe I don't want to compete. But instead, the event coordinator actually reached out to him and said, Marco, we'd love to have you compete. You've been doing such a good job on the other 4 competitions. We'd love to see you try again. So Marco did. Where did the inspiration for the Chartreuse Swizzle come from? Well, Marco wanted to create a cocktail that was kind of unheard of or unseen at the time. We're talking early 2000s. This is at the very, very beginning of the Tiki explosion, or Tiki revitalization, I guess is a better term. So Marco wanted to kind of take this exotic swizzle-esque cocktail with pineapple juice and lime and really bring and highlight the chartreuse in it. Marco says the actual kicker for this cocktail was the velvet falernum. Speaking of which, let's see what we're gonna need to make this cocktail. For our Chartreuse Swizzle, you're gonna need green chartreuse, velvet falernum, pineapple juice, and lime juice. Yeah, super simple. Literally, it's only 4 ingredients. Now, as you can see, I am using John D. Taylor's velvet falernum, and I would highly recommend that you use this as well because this is what Marco used. And according to Marco, it's actually what really makes this cocktail sing. Could you sub it out for something else? Absolutely. You could sub it out for a Falernum number 9, you could sub it out for a golden Falernum from Bitter Truth, and a bunch of other options. However, it is going to drastically change the flavor profile of this cocktail. If you happen to go with a more clove-heavy kind of Falernum number 9, it may be in competition with the actual green chartreuse itself. If you're okay with that, go for it. If not, I highly recommend sticking with the John D. Taylor. So now let's talk about the other main ingredient in this cocktail, and that is the green chartreuse. Now, before I continue, I know a bunch of people are gonna ask, well, Andy, green chartreuse, can I sub it out for something? It's hard to find and it's expensive. Yes and yes. Yes, it is hard to find. Yes, it is expensive. No, I don't really think you can sub it out. You could sub it out for another herbal liqueur such as yellow chartreuse or strega, but honestly, it's going to drastically change this cocktail. It no longer is a Chartreuse Swizzle at that point. Sure, it's a riff on it, and you've just created a brand new cocktail, so congratulations. I'd love to try it. Shoot it over. Leave a comment down below with your new recipe. But I highly recommend you stick with the green chartreuse. Now, if you're like, Andy, I don't feel like going out and buying a bottle of green chartreuse, that's fine. If you go to most modern cocktail bars nowadays, you can ask for a Chartreuse Swizzle and they will be able to make it for you. So if you can't make it at home, I highly recommend you go order one at a bar. Anyway, let's see how we're gonna make this cocktail. I'll sip on it and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. Now, before I continue into actually building this cocktail, it's interesting. I did a lot of research on this thing, and it's called a Chartreuse Swizzle, which would make me think that we're gonna swizzle this cocktail. Now, I've made a swizzled cocktail before. Leave this card up here and description to link down below. But for some reason, everything that I read about this cocktail said to do it in a shaking tin and whip shake it. Maybe the original was done swizzled, and then over time, because not every bar can swizzle cocktails, or it's not time effective, people started whip shaking it instead. Well, anyway, I decided to whip shake this one today, but if you do want to build it in glass and swizzle it instead, by all means, please do. I think either way, honestly, is really, really great. I do kind of love the whip shake on it though. It really does aerate that pineapple juice just a little bit more. But anyway, let's build this cocktail. So for me, we're gonna start with a shaking tin. In your shaking tin, you're gonna add 3/4 of an ounce or 22.5 milliliters of lime juice. Next up, 1 ounce or 30 milliliters of pineapple juice. Follow that up with 1/2 ounce or 15 milliliters of velvet falernum. And finish off with 1.5 ounces or 45 milliliters of our green chartreuse. We're gonna add a skosh of pebble ice to our shaking tin and give it a nice whip shake for about 5 to 8 seconds. We're gonna grab our Collins glass and open pour in and top with more crushed ice. A little trick, if you want to fit more crushed ice, shake your glass, let the ice settle, then top it with some more. For a garnish, we're gonna go with a mint sprig and a lime wheel. And then don't forget your Surfside sip straw. And there we have it, Marco's Chartreuse Swizzle. Let's give it a try. So I've already tried this cocktail before. I've made plenty of these. It's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to do it on this video, because I really felt like the Chartreuse Swizzle does not get enough limelight. This is a complex cocktail, to say the least, considering it only has 4 ingredients. It's sweet up front with a nice touch of pineapple, and you get that kind of sweet sugary clove from the velvet falernum. That leads way into this wonderful herbalness that we get from the green chartreuse, and that's kind of what rides out the rest of this flavor profile. All of that is being balanced by the 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. It's a wonderful cocktail. Now, before anybody else continues, Andy, what about the garnish? You've got a mint sprig and a lime wheel. I've seen it done other ways. Yes, I've seen it done with a pineapple frond, pineapple wedge, and a lime wheel. I've seen it with grated nutmeg. This is how I like it for me. I like it with the mint and the lime right on top to really get those aromatics as I'm sipping the cocktail. Andy, you're using a dehydrated lime wheel. Yes, I am, because they still have aromatics. In fact, the aromatics on a dehydrated lime wheel I find to be more potent than in a fresh lime wheel. That, and I'm not gonna confuse it and try to squeeze it into the cocktail and change the balance. Chartreuse Swizzle, modern classic tiki cocktail. Super easy 4 ingredients. It does include an ingredient that could be hard to source or you may not have, which is why it fits into my intermediate tiki level, which is okay, right? Again, you can try swapping it out, but I don't recommend it. And so there it is, Marco's Chartreuse Swizzle. Now, when Marco entered in this competition, obviously it won first place, but it actually didn't gain notoriety for almost a decade later. It didn't really start to take off until it started to show up on opening menus of places like Bourbon and Branch and other restaurants of that same caliber. That's when it started to take off. And even nowadays, I feel like it's kind of lost a little bit in the limelight and it's kind of taken a backseat to other modern classic tiki cocktails or even just regular classic tiki cocktails that are making an even bigger resurgence nowadays. Anyway, I love this cocktail. I highly recommend you try it too, whether it's at home or at a bar. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel, click that little notification bell, give this video a thumbs up. Follow me over on Instagram and TikTok at EasyTikiDrinks. Yeah, I guess that's about it. So until next time, I'm Andy. Take it easy.